Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective. To those who are new, it's going to be an episode where I read to you a little bit. So if you're seeing me, I'm going to look down. And for those who are hearing me, just keep doing what you do best. Tune on in. Okay. Oh, and number one, I support future humans, what I also call the 5D collective, with personal growth and spiritual growth, structured practices. Check out PayHip. We have also community, online activities, and frameworks and gatherings, and you can start going to Substack for that. That's where we're going to organize, and then I'm going to distribute more of that, how we're going to get together over the years to come, and obviously conversations via this video and audio podcasts. And sometimes it's only the video, sometimes it's the audio. Spotify, I don't know what it's doing. On YouTube, you're seeing me all the time, so it's really fun. Oh, and if you want lives, that's for YouTube and TikTok. Those are the two places I have lives for now. So what's a future human, you might wonder, and who is doing personal and spiritual growth? Okay, so it's people who are self-led, or I'll use this word, restored embodiment, so you live that life. People who are embodying their authentic self, so that means you have nervous system sovereignty and you are an empowered and enlightening steady self, so you don't actually collapse or submit. You also know how to be yourself the smart way. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. That's a framework and a play of words that I like to share with you, but it is because of the rational and the teachable, the stable, the mature, and the adaptable that you continue to be yourself, and you don't change yourself. So people who first go to get themselves online, once they've become their steady self, then they know the 5D collective stuff. So you also choose micro habits. That's also a framework, and that has a number of lovely, it's coming soon, secret, but it's out, it's almost out. So we also get to put into practice smart micro habits for that which is regulated leadership. And so you maintain relational integrity in the workspace and love life, all of that. Okay, so your sovereign blueprint, it's yours, and therefore you tap into what is your infinite higher human consciousness potential. Now for the spiritual stuff, because this is a channeled guidance food for thought, you don't have to believe in me, and you don't even have to believe in God, and you don't have to believe in any of the spiritual stories, but this is where I'm going to come to let you in on. Fun fact, obviously if you are here, you understand mystic spiritual one, and I'm going to tell you that I am personally very aware of why, when the Dalai Lama said to Dr. Daniel Siegel, religion has failed, that he said so. However, I'm going to say it's not religion per se, it's not spirituality per se. It's a group of people that with their embodied brain do not have the capacity of what I'm bringing to you today, the integrated, embodied, self-regulating nervous system brain. Okay, so when you are instead a person who wields your temperament, your personality patterns, because whether I'm sensitive or intense, I know what's going on in here because I can discern my own embodied brain's experience. So when you will hear mindfulness training, it's because you have the capacity to have a mind sight lens. And if you don't know any of those words, basically when I think, I know I'm feeling first, and my little self, my innocence, and all my child parts are all here. So no one is doing shadow work or child work. Nobody has open core wounds. Okay, so when I read to you what a person of grace involves, you will have heard of that. Okay, so person of grace, I will read that to you after, maybe again, or you can tune into the episode. But the point that I'm trying to make is those who betrayed are those who betrayed themselves because they did not notice how the book to read, the left brain speaks and the right brain laughs, of Ransom Stevens, PhD, a neuroscientist, explains exactly what a delusional idiot and a judgmental asshole in the brain is. So it's an embodied brain of those who are, I call them the 3D, 4D collective. We're not going to be fighting anyone because actively they don't protect the future. They will be overwhelmed by all of that which is change, beginning with knowledge. And knowledge means spiritual stories, differences with spiritual stories, and all of it, and sciences. And so I bring the human elements to spiritual and spirituality elements. I'm grounded in reality. As Sam Harris points out, grounded in reality means any of my cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. So when you meet a future human, a future spiritual one, I'm playing with words, but we are the future because, thankfully, the scientist, as the Dalai Lama pointed to Dr. Daniel Siegel and said, it's up to you now, the scientist, to do the magic. No, I forget what words he used, but to teach and to get there. And that's why every single bit of all the mindful therapists and all of those who care about human beings are going to be getting them all to where they can be and where I am at. And if you're going to stick around, where I'm most certainly you are at. Because people don't buy what you do or why you do it. Thanks, Simon Sinek. I have noticed people actually tune in to that which resonates with them. And it's all about how they feel first and how they believe. If they're smart, the belief thing gets put to the side because we all feel feelings and then we all know knowledge. And there's your epistemically curious, disciplined, diligent, and enlightening human beings, because knowledge is always building. And no one has effective realism, very strong emotions with thoughts coming into the mix with an in-group and out-group or any kind of battle going on. So when you meet non-bilaterally integrated brain people, they will do this. Excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. This is a random human being who interjects with me having a very important conversation with a human being who needed the conversation and who's a friend of mine. So anyways, long story short, I had fun. They interrupted 3 times. I gave them my thoughts. I knew that at that point, relational integrity is this, and I'm curious, what do you got to say? Because I don't know what you're going to think. So I'm self-aware, accountable, regulating, and I'm not like, oh my God, how dare they? They interrupted me. Okay, so people who get defensive over stuff like that, I'm going to pause. And those are all teenagers. And when you hear me say teenagers, it's the 3D, 4D collective who are in their defensive survival loops. And let me pause that. Okay, so that's a wrap for the introduction. Only people who know how to feel love, forgiveness, compassion, and that do understand the true leader of any type is going to bring us into the future, and they create leaders. Those who are instead fear-based leadership, they will isolate and they will distort, as they are already doing. They will manipulate, as they already are doing, but above all, they will share the same beliefs with the same in-group and out-group. Good team, bad team. And those who play to each other like that are actively why we don't have to handle them. We're going to be able to discern them, and that's the part of where they're faking it. They're faking regulated leadership. It is quite annoying and tiresome to the bejesus of me. They are faking ventral pivoting. They don't know it. It's okay. They don't have to. Okay, so fakers are fakers, and that's quote unquote. That they wear a mask. That's what it is. Okay, so their minimum energy mode is a disservice to their own selves. And with that being said, please sit down, relax, those who are hearing, because this came through for me to share with you. And again, you don't have to think of it in any other way. It's food for thought, I always like to say, because that's the part of why I empower you to be yourself. As for my own personal, spiritual, and mystic relationship, the channeling, the downloading, we all have the same messages. I follow all of my colleagues. It doesn't matter if they're in the future or not. And I know we have the same messages because when you put to the side all of it and you hear the basic foundation, it's, yeah, okay. If you're not following, it's okay. But please sit down and relax. And as I said, take it food for thought. No child of God was ever meant to be classified as evil for eternity. Those who have betrayed their soul's calling will pay for what they have done and are doing, but not in the ways of the vindictive mind who harbors resentment and seeks revenge. Divine order does not need explanation for those of faith, for future humans and intelligent, sentient beings. If you don't know, by the way, the side note, what an intelligent, sentient being is, let me tell you, because I was like, I know the word came through me, but I'm Maria. I'm like, what is that word? An intelligent, sentient being is an entity. So those of you who are emotionally mature, FYI, and mentally mature, you understand you have an ego, the left over here, I'd say. You understand you have a self, the higher self over here, and you're not your own indulgent parent. You're a fascinated child with a rational higher self that takes in information, and with the integrated brain, you have a consilience approach You use metastability, you're blissed out with the flow state, and even when someone pokes at you, quote unquote, you ventral pivot because that's how easy it is to use your own embodied brain. So your nervous system easily is able to say, oh, it's not personal. And as you practice ventral vagal state again and again, it doesn't get harder. You're empowered. And that's why you are empowered and enlightening. And those are our lovely self-empowering, enlightening collective that have been tuning in since whenever IHP podcast has been about. Okay, so an intelligent sentient being is a entity, I'll use the words that came up in the research, that possesses both the capacity to think, reason, and solve problems, intelligence, which makes me think of lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel mind sight lens with the capacity to sift through your faces. So sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, you sift your mind, with the mind sight lens. And your mind, so mental activity, emotion activity, okay? And then you're flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable. He has a bunch of frameworks, his IPNB framework, all these tools, IPNB framework, the tools. So he's amazing. He's a hero. He's one of my heroes. And I thank his partner, who actually is the one that supported him when basically he just, is doing, I don't even know when he started the hand model, but he's amazing. So thanks to Dr. Daniel Siegel and Stephen Porges and Janina Fisher, Deb Dana, Pat Ogden. We got Peter Levine. There's so many names that I know I'm forgetting, but we know how our embodied brains work. And as they enlightened me, I have brought it every time I could here. And I'm like, they prove God's perfection. Obviously, the ones who get to their healthy perfection. So it's only once you own the sense of self and you own yourself, the embodied brain, that you don't suffer life. 3D suffers life. 4D have an unsteady self-image, and then they continue meshing and doing what they do, and I'm going to put them to the side. So the intelligence part now for the sentience, and the ability to feel, perceive, and experience emotions or consciousness, sentience. Okay, so the people who are their self-sovereign and their sovereign blueprints, their regulated leader, words that you'll hear me use, future humans, 5D collective, functional child adults, this is what we will become. And I saw my future self. That's amazing. I was like, wow, okay. And then I also am in direct connection with a multidimensional self of me. She showing up again now. So it's really fun. By the way, like I said, you can put the spiritual mystic experiences aside and say it's Maria's imagination. It's not, but I get that. Okay, so that's why I'm very rational right here, left, and I'm very also emotionally aware. And I love how Thomas Campbell, the scientist, proved that love wins and truth never fails or isn't fragile. But let me pause again. So key characteristics for this intelligent sentient being. Okay, so self-awareness, understanding your own existence separate from others. That's called differentiation. And then linking, human terms, from Dr. Daniel Siegel, which is where I can pick up on your nervous system and mine, or on the entire globe, and I'm like, look, I wasn't feeling that way 2 seconds ago. Picking up on a bunch of different nervous systems. That's actually normal because we're a whole species. And that's actually how Tara Brock explained in a summit, she's another amazing, with Stephen Porges, about how we perceive each other. So we're not afraid of somatic countertransference, by the way, because you don't actually have contagion with emotions. It's really the opportunity to, I perceived other. And that's why when Dr. Daniel Siegel, in one of the courses that I took, I got to ask him questions 2 times. And one of them was where he's like, I think you need to differentiate more, Maria. I was like, Then I went to look it up. Thoughts and feelings my own. Okay, and so today I can tell you what it means. Means I can pick up on someone else's nervous system and my own and a bunch more and not be confused. And I have not been ever confused, even with 3 twin flames. Actually, it's hilarious once you understand what it is. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Okay, emotional depth, number 2, which is really fun because depth of intensity is not the same as those who suffer. And I do put a hand on my heart for a Zen master's laundry inside his body. So they can feel pain, joy, fear, and empathy, but really, let's pause, because that word pain, I want to share a note. It's very important. Those who fake ventral pivoting will talk to you about this pain stuff as if it's something magical. As a person who loves love and is very much, I dislike pain. The only time I will ever have any kind of pain, it's physical pain. As for the emotional pain, that's why I'm pausing to tell you all about this. When I was a teenager, my good Christian Catholic catechist explained to me what I was doing with the communion and the confirmation. As I'm being told of confirmation, I'm being informed that I need to take note that I don't have to say I'll live a life like Jesus did, but that if I do, that's very important for me to remember how to forgive and how to stay open-hearted and all that. So my first light body experience was my confirmation. That's why I could tell when I had my second, and then my third, and then my fourth, and then my whatever, and I got to rainbow body. Okay, and I say whatever because I have a timeline, but I'm not going to remember it all the time. So I also have a human explanation for this, by the way. The panic attacks and then the whole years integration is a process, as lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel explained to me. I have 3 courses or 4, finished 2 of them completely, if not 3, and I have the other ones pending. But the point is, as he's explaining in whichever one it was, the fact is the insula can grow, and that's when you're using an integrated brain. While from another lady who's a neuroscientist, she explained how the amygdala can grow for those who have their frontal lobes flop down. And so people who are in defensive mode, so I'm explaining it to you the human way, but remember, don't take notes down because I could fuck it up. Plus there's a whole bunch more of information. So this is just to give you the understanding of the embodied brain, and then Maria's spiritual experience of light body, rainbow body, blah, 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 all that stuff here. Integration of the brain is a process. It takes 4 to 8 weeks for blah, 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 and however Dr. Danny Siegel explained it, I'm like, oh, and then there's this, the neuroscientist, who explain the 4 things that happen when you're in the flow state. And it's selflessness, and then timelessness, and now my body, this human being body, is like, where's the fuck Maria, and where's the fuck time? So Newtonian and the whole quantum time, yeah, as your body is like, where the fuck are you? Effortlessness, that's when the stuff begins, and then 4 richness. So as you get familiar with the capacity to move into your prefrontal cortex, expand your window tolerance, move into one of welcome, and this insula grows, or whatever else explanation I'm not going to bother with. The point is, you're not concerned with that somatic countertransference stuff, but you also don't think of this pain, emotional. It's where's the pain? I don't understand. So also, like I was mentioning, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, because I'm very literal. So when they explain to me, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm promising. Just to give you the other example, I'm a teenager, I'm growing up, teenage boyfriend cheats on me, first time, then a second, then a third. Polyamory community, we're not whores, FYI, actually, but we also do understand that not all are polysecure, so when it comes to love, it's not about polyamory or monoamory. Death do part, sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse. When I heard those words and that explanation as a teenager, I knew what it meant. When I got taught what it meant to forgive, I knew what that meant. And I understand as a grown-ass fucking human being with attachment trauma education that when you have no core wounds that are unhealed, you understand what it means without saying, I forgave. It's, I know how to choose the high road because I know how to choose the high bar, because I know how to be myself the smart way, because Maria doesn't lose her sense of self, because others lack integrity. Relational integrity. It's Dr. Daniel Siegel's explanation is we have not only a solo self, a inner self, and then a relational self. We also have the mui self. So basically, I'm connected to all, which is why those core wounds, those who don't know how to close the loops, my brain is an anticipation machine like yours. My mind sees patterns like yours. The difference is my brain knows what physical pain is, and I don't want it. As for emotional pain, where's the pain? I have yet to be pushed to the edge of criticality to where I would call anybody a monster that doesn't exist, because I've never seen one. I've just seen suffering and human beings who are very disappointing, might I add, and who God gets to hear all about. And so when you don't lose your sense of self or your innocence or any of that, which is a heart that understands what it means to treat others the way you want to be treated, to turn the other cheek, to forgive because they do not know, to be blessed because you can see that everyone is human, and then to, what was it, Jesus? The kingdom of God is within everyone, and scientists prove it, God. Thank you, scientists. So they've proven the perfection, the healthy perfection that any human being can be. However, there's your free will. Or, Robert Sapolsky with his book says you're determined. You have no free will. So the people who like to hear there's no free will, everybody's been decided, are the same ones who won't be motivating themselves to move into more, like the little choo-choo train that did. And that's the part of where I don't need to say anything, because some people don't want to self-regulate. don't want to take their window tolerance and learn how to move it into one of welcome, don't want to see their own personality patterns and their temperament for what they are and regulate their intensity and sensitivity, don't want to claim their embodied brain because they don't believe in the science. Fact, actually, God doesn't need science, Maria. Sorry, you're rejected because you read tarot and you believe in science. Wow. I'm amazed at the lack of capacity for those who are epistemically lazy, with their epistemic trust broken, with insecurities and core wounds unhealed, to notice themselves. But I have an explanation for you all. They don't know how to maintain steadiness under pressure, and so when they get hit, they just think that life is not rainbows and sunshines and that evil always wins. And there's a person who doesn't know how to harness their own default mode network and to therefore harness their own inner self and maintain a steady sense of self and know, oh, I have thoughts, I have feelings, and I'm explaining to you the sentient, intelligent, sentient being in front of you, which is not some magical baton. It is simply the capacity to wield my nervous system to its optimized arousal state and actually beyond it in the ease. I didn't need yoga for it. And then how to explain it to you to the best of my ability with the capacity to know that not all of you might know words. Please go to Substack if you want any of these words to be looked at. I will add them to the master glossary I'm creating. So the pain thing, those who put it on a pedestal, what I would do is punch them in the face in my mind, but then I don't even do that anymore because today I understand that that's their pseudo-aliveness and that's the best they can do. And I am very saddened by it, but God chimes in to remind me that it's not my free will, it's their free will. Fear, yes. I experienced panic attacks and pure fear. Tune into one of the episodes. Not fun. I don't think, oh, I hope you don't have to go through that. I hope that me explaining to you, you being able to have mindful therapists support you to get to become empowered and then to do personal growth and spiritual growth will be enough for you to understand how relational integrity works and how the future is in the absence of this 3D, 4D suffering shit, because thankfully we got scientists who are geniuses who do research and who learn things and then who give us knowledge. It's not crap. Nope, not crap at all. What's crap are people who look at me and think that oh, thank you for telling me you've been rejected too. Wow, I'm so validated now. I'm like, no, not really. I'm trying to not say anything right now because I'm a whack job according to the people who don't know what a future human is. And an Akashic record reader are. And a tarot reader and all of that. Pleiadian activation. Oh, I love it. I love being a mystic. And I love how to share with you. The truth is, all of the empowered ones already know what I'm talking about because you got no welcome because of that ventral pivot that you can do, and it means you're your own safe haven, secure base. So if I didn't have anyone in the world at this point, as my 46-year-old, I got my 0 to 16 child parts. I was able to become emotionally mature enough to where by the time I'm 20, with the teenage boyfriend and all the cheating incidences, all I could say is, wow, there's a bunch of cowards. And I didn't say, oh, humans are all awful, or, oh my God, nobody understands my needs. So whenever I'm hearing nobody cares about my needs, or, well, I want to be validated, I'm like, how old are you again? Because the last time I even noticed any of this, I was a teenager. Steady self means I don't need you to validate me. I don't need you to tell me my worth. I know my worth. I know my validation. I actually won't be doing anything to disrespect you to the best of my ability, but you better bet that I might have you feeling disrespected, because if I tell you I know how to handle panic attacks and you say I just disrespected you because you're answering me in a way that is unnecessary. So people who have defensive survival loops and don't notice themselves, it's because they don't notice they've been activated and how they're using their timbre, because they don't hear themselves. Lacking self-awareness, lacking accountability, lacking regulation, lacking the capacity to regulate intensity or sensitivity. They don't know how to regulate depth. So when someone thinks nobody cares about them, and when you see groupies come together, that's not what future humans are, because future humans understand how our emotional body works now. Future humans know about self-regulation. Future humans and good companies want emotionally intelligent, mentally intelligent people, because we now know the word discerning effective realism. We know how to be in ventral. Okay, so future humans use the knowledge that is good knowledge because they're not stupid, excuse me, but I will use that word. Because those who are epistemically lazy and then those who are reactive to knowledge are both equally in the same group of continue believing what you believe. Meantime, you're not believing in the real world anymore because you're distorting based on your emotional charges, your effective realism, your preferences, cognitive dissonance, structural dissociation. So when someone wants to tell me, the spiritual bypassers, that they know good and evil and they're pointing fingers at humanity or any of that, which is a mystic or whoever it is who's bringing to you that consciousness wants to experience suffering, blah, 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 blah. This is the moment of truth, emotional depth in front of you. Excuse me. You must have forgotten what the frequency of that which is. But let me put that to the side, shall I? No, I won't. That's my point. So enlightening beings, when it comes to spiritual, they will know what the frequency is. They will understand that divine order is not for us to spell it out. And that actually, here's the thing about, oh, I don't want to get in depth yet. So I'm going to leave that one to the side. If you're curious, you can write me, hey Maria, whatever you were going to say, tell me what timestamp it was, and I'll try to remember. But I'm going to go back to this. So what's most important is when you can relate the least, because you are going to be more vulnerable to invalidating other in ways that are going to be completely unreasonable for the person to manage on their own. Me saying to someone about the panic attack and how I handled it, and them reacting to me, was where I wasn't trying to intentionally invalidate or say you have to do something. They didn't do the let me be self-aware, calm myself, or let me just notice someone's telling me how they're doing it. So they got reactive and defensive because they got triggered. I, on the other hand, was simply trying to say this is something that can help you. The fact that they couldn't tolerate that was something they could have noticed and then could have aspired to say, oh, wow. Or someone who's curious would be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Let's see what works for me or not. So reactive people are reactive because they get triggered. And that's where it's an emotionally mature person. So the more you can't relate, the more you need information. And this is where, if the person would understand, some people are self-aware, they self-regulate, they handle their window of tolerance. They don't have to react. I can do it, you don't have to do it. Nobody's telling you have to do it. Okay, so the emotions come first because we're all beings of emotions. And if you're triggered, it's because something pushed in a way that you won't be able to relate to, or anyways, it's called, for Terry Real, thank you for the word, adaptive child part. Rigid, unforgiving, harsh, and they therefore are not going to be objective. They lack the sensitivity chip because they actually were most likely treated that way, or anyways, they have grandiosity in the forefront. And they won't notice themselves either. They'll think they're right. That's why they're the adaptive child part. And so with their thinking they're right, they go around with their groupies and they think everybody has to be like them. And no, not everybody is like you. And the fact is, when you're emotionally mature, you're going to be like, hey, some of us are really happy with all this attachment trauma education because we know all others can achieve this beautiful thing called restored embodiment and work with their window of welcome and continue to do so. So we maintain under pressure, steadiness, and integrity, because this integrity, relational integrity. So the more you need information, you gain information. We all have it now. And the more you will be able to notice that when someone has the capacity to invalidate and set unrealistic expectations on others, is because they don't believe in implicit memory, explicit memory, and self-regulation, and so on and so forth. But when we do, as grown-ups, we're going to understand the 5D collective, and moving forward are all the ones who understand their brothers and sisters, the ones who are doing the work. We know that they'll know how to say, hey, this is my window of tolerance, so here's what I'm working with. So we all know how to talk to each other about the aspects of our embodied brain, like grown-ups do. And as for the mystics, we all know that everyone is an angel and there's no monsters or demons, and there is definitely, for 3D, 4D, plenty of more time for them to hang out. Let me finish with our messages as the sun goes down. Let's see if I need to turn on some light. Give me a minute. We're going to have a change of light. There we go. Just in case it starts getting darker. Okay, so as I was saying, we have the non-human animals. Then we have our lovely theoretical entities. So Star Trek or hypothetical extraterrestrial life, which, I mean, come on. As a kid, I'm like, of course there's going to be extraterrestrials. We used to think that the sun revolved around the earth. That's how we were. So it's easy to spot where ego's at. And let me, therefore, pause myself. Divine order, as I was saying, does not need explanation for those of faith, future humans, and intelligent sentient beings. As for the evils of the world and the sky, forces, dark forces, all the conspiracies, all that stuff, that you will hear from our lovely 4D and 3D collective brothers and sisters, they will continue to perceive all of this in their dream state, in their channeling state, in their hero and villain stories, in their in-group and out-group stories, in their charged narratives. They will gather online, they will gather offline. We have an entire group who thinks of us as evil, and one day we will say, knock, knock, who's there? So listen, the sun is a star. We know you don't believe us and you think we're pure evil at this point, but do you want us to take the children you say you love, or do you prefer that because your belief is the right way that they die an excruciating, painful death, physically speaking? Here's what's going to happen, just in case you're curious to see the proof and the evidence. No, but you said you love them. You love them because you're right. I don't think that's what love is. I think what you mean to say is that you're choosing to not be grounded in reality, and that is why a logical person I am, which is where spiritual mystic is going to say, never once did I think of God as some evil monster that's going to come and beat us to shits or whatever it is. And anytime I'm thinking of the people who are able to comprehend their own logic, I just remind myself the explanation of what distortion, projection, and what people whose nervous system is in a survival loop does, and what happened to them was not something that I can say, hey, this is what happened to you, as they don't believe it to be true. So when you do meet the masked ones, it's really sad. You say, in the name of Father and Son, Holy Spirit, God, you know I'm rejected and they consider me evil and all that other stuff, but I told you this a long time ago. And to the Cains of the world, I told them God loves you too, you just don't know it yet. So when you meet shame, remind yourself you can't shame out of shame. You can only do the best you can to treat them the way that you know they are, life and a human. And so we handle emotionally immature people by allowing them to have the floor. By the third time, we'll have figured out if we have an emotionally intelligent one or not, and it's okay because we don't need to take the floor. They can speak, share with us everything, then we know how to handle things like grown-ups do. And so the 3D, 4D, I have noticed there are those who are overwhelmed by what our present state is, with knowledge, with changes, with cities, with everything. And so they're not made for the future, but above all, as I continue, we're almost done, they are not capable of problem solving with abundance and sustainability in the forefront for every single person, because spiritual bypassers and somatic bypassers, they have stories for you. So in the meantime, while they do contribute like we all do, they won't be knowing how to be the let's fill in the gap, let's be the bridges and connect. But those who do know, it's because the minds that discern, they discern with subjective reality, emotional maturity, and mental maturity, and the capacity to be intelligent, sentient human beings. The minds of those who do not have the capacity to achieve this level of visibility, they will play fantasy lands like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and as they give each other a place to call home, I'm doing my best to respectfully respect them because they're on an island, the Never Never Land. The ones who are grounded in reality and grow intelligence, thanks to self-regulation skills and emotional awareness, maturity, and mental discernment and mastery, are the ones that keep building and expanding real life as we know it in Newtonian time, independent from the universe and different from quantum time, where multiple states exist at once. So when I'm seeing my multiple state being, I'm not confused with what I'm seeing. I'm fascinated, and I'm like, wow, this is really fucking amazing. So how many of you think I'm a whack job? Because I'm not, but oh my God, it's amazing. And that's how easy it is to be connected to all that is while I'm here as Maria, because that's why an integrated embodied brain is different than those who are not yet integrated. And embodying the consistent ventral pivot, because that's why 5D collective is love frequency and is moving into the 7th dimension, which I did have a download on. And a colleague of mine recently confirmed it, because I was like, oh wow, that's what I saw. And that's how, I don't know them personally, but maybe one day. So in the meantime, life as we know it in any given moment is already reshaping itself. So it is in consistent change, which is not something into the unknown. Hey, Elsa, nobody's trying to hold you back. I think you don't know what the unknown thing is. So knowledge consistently gets added to. The conscious mind comprehends this and that and lives it normally, because we are using our human secondary consciousness and our human primary consciousness. So the secondary, I know that I live, I know that I'll die, I know that dark matter, dark energy is basically the chicken or the egg. The spiritual, I keep adding, and again, it was never intended for this evil word to be used and projected on all of the humans that you still see people doing this stuff. But obviously we do know people want justice, and luckily justice always comes. That's why I said divine order doesn't get questioned by those who are of faith, because we know it happens. I've seen cosmic karmic balancing take place, and it wasn't something pretty. It was something that made me worried, and that's because when you love someone, you don't think, I want sweet revenge. You think, I want you to be happy forever, for as long as you live and beyond, because I want you to be happy in here and fulfilled. But if you have gut wrench, torn apart, and self-loathing, and I am incapable of explaining to you how your first 3 years of life matter and how a mindful therapist will be able to do wonders because I have proof of it. I mean, I just did that. I'm trying, but I failed. So religious and spiritual ones, we don't fail. But of course, those who don't believe in us, well, science, as Neil deGrasse points out, it's not about belief, it's facts. But I'm so sorry, where are my manners? I found it hard to believe that my first year's life. And that is how this is a song that doesn't end. So in the meantime, I know what happens with cosmic karmic balancing, and I have knowledge of God's amazing power. As Jesus points out, the kingdom of God is within everyone, and forgive, for they don't know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Also, like I keep on sharing, those who play God don't know how to be a person of grace. They're now spiritual bypassers, and they are very, very, very uninteresting to me. So, as God chimes in, the conscious mind comprehends the primary and secondary consciousness. This is our existential, not dilemma. We grow from it. And people instead who are overwhelmed by the state of change at hand and the updating knowledge the researchers are bringing to us, they will find ease with those who validate their feelings and their beliefs. Ergo, I think I can use it that way, the 3D4D collective. And so when I'm not able to relate to those who don't know how to be themselves, it's because I don't know how it is to fake it, because I never lost myself. And as for the soul, it doesn't get tainted or poked at, because God is very clear on what humility is. And so, again, with all due respect, I love every single bit of all 8 billion and growing, because of the promise that I made a long time ago as a teenager when I got raised with good Christian Catholic catechists. As I got older, out of respect, I know I'm rejected, and therefore I will leave it alone. But out of respect to God and to all that is, Akash Source, I will let you in on fun fact: future humans are sentient, intelligent beings, and that's because knowledge does not fight spirituality. The only ones who keep on competing between spirituality and science are the same ones who I actually allow to have the floor, because I don't know shit. I'm just a whack job pretending to know shit, you know what I mean? So the part about how you understand who's faking it, it's because they get argumentative, defensive, and really above all, they don't know how to have a playful, intellectually and emotionally interesting, respectful conversation. Distortion is not done on purpose. Being offline is not done on purpose. And when Peter Levine explained all this to me, and so did Bezel van der Kolk and Stephen Porges, all my courses, the one thing I did day after day of these courses was cry. And the one thing I recognized once I was done, I'm a better human thanks to them, because now I know everything that I can do to disengage from triggering any of those out there who would be triggered. And when they do get triggered, I also know how to disengage with all due respect from all of it. And had I known any of this prior to all the things that happened, I would have been able to actually know what was going on, which would have been nice, because I knew something was off with all of the three twin flames. And it wasn't something called good or evil. It was, you don't know how to have manners. What's up with this? I don't even know what do you think love is? I mean, it's not, it's hard work. No, it's not. This is relationships. What's the deal? So anyways, that's what happens when you have playtime. I'm a twin. Did I mention that? I'm the bossy one of the two. So I'm just saying, I got disowned at 8, and I got to learn about how we all play life differently. So personality patterns, temperament, it's playtime. You get to be you, I get to be me. Personal growth, spiritual growth. Check out PayHip for mindset practice and guides, and then Substack if you have any questions. And as for the people who are, I looked up the word vindictive too, because this is that part of when people have unhealed core wounds, unfortunately, they carry that with them. So we don't want to continue with wounding each other. And I thought there was a part that I didn't notice, but we'll come back for another episode maybe later on or tomorrow. However, when you do explain to people how there's no such thing as sweet revenge, the only ones who understand this are the same ones who know how to be a person of grace, and that means, humanly speaking, restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating people. So you do know how to embody compassion and forgiveness. Instead of holding grudges or keeping score, you are knowing how to treat others with relational integrity, and also subjective reality is a real deal. So I can't understand how you feel necessarily. You might not understand how I feel life, but we can listen to each other. But the emotionally immature person can't. They're suffering it. And so what they want is to be heard, to be supported, and you can do that because we can do that. You don't validate the right or wrong. You can be there for friends. When you're down in trouble, then you need someone. Friends are, I can count on you, you can count on me. That's what love is. Okay, so you don't take revenge. Those who instead still harbor resentment and are insecure, they have a whole different way they approach envy, jealousy, spite. That's why I call them teenagers. And they say, I forgave, instead of I processed emotions. And so again, it's not the words, it's the active way you'll notice people embodying the experience. And it seems very obvious to me, but to others, the whole explanation is, and so I say, okay, when you're done with therapy, come back and we'll talk. Because I think right now, when I even bother trying to explain differentiate and link, you seem not to understand it. This is a person who's trying to cut cords, and I said there's no energy vampires or dark auras. If you differentiate and link, you recalibrate, and then you're in a room and it's all good. So they're gonna learn with the therapist eventually. But dignity and composure, person of grace. So they maintain a sophisticated, refined, and calm demeanor even under pressure. Here's our regulated leaders. Here's our sovereign blueprint people. Here's the ones who are leading companies that will succeed. Here's the future. Those who will succeed are not delusional. Those who distort and are delusional, they're not going to succeed because we don't put up with maladaptive patterns of behaviors. People who know self-respect and self-worth don't put up with people who don't know how to treat them right. And when you spell out your healthy boundaries, it's not by projecting. It's actively by being a human being who can explain yourself with the feelings, with the thoughts, and then you can also accept differences and not do the characterological distinctions. And so dignity and composure. And therefore we have the calm demeanor. It's also called equanimity, and you will choose to be a peacemaker, which some people think a pushover. There's a difference. You're not a pushover. You're a person who knows how to discern, and you choose the Buddhist psychologists talk about the right silence. And as a functional inner child adult, you can talk to Terry Real. He explains what functional adults know how to do too. And so we don't engage in slander or gossip, but that doesn't mean we don't have days where we're like, guess what happened to me? I just met with this 3D for I don't talk about it that way, but so I'm dealing with someone who's distorting and projecting, and with their insecurities, they're bringing da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to judge them, but this is what's happening, and can you believe this is what they... Like, wow. And then the other will be like, yeah, but they didn't really choose. You know what? Let's go analyze that. Let's go have fun. You know what? No, actually, let's go and do something different. Humility. 3. Free will is always at hand. Okay, so focusing on serving and building up others. That's what leaders do. We create more leaders, and we leave a legacy behind for future generations to learn from. Everyone is a child of God, and those who forgot their place, it's a sad story. I don't reject them. I don't abandon them. I don't humiliate them. I don't dishonor our ancestors, abandon, betray, injustice. Justice will prevail because God prevails always. You see I'm getting at? So we don't do unto others that which they will have and continue to do unto us. Differences are welcomed, and that's why humility. So we have interactions that will be void of pride. In fact, the ego of those who think they're the chosen ones, amazing. No, I'm being sarcastic. Spiritual bypassing community, that's where you find them. Meaning does not consistently need to be right or wrong. So we're not going to battle I'm right, you're wrong. We're going to actually say, wow, those are fascinating. Flat earthers, man, they have a really big thing. They just disproved the Neil deGrasse explanation that the earth is round again. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so with that being said, be yourself the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Welcome aboard. Check out PayHip, check out Substack. Have a good one.